All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Madrid?
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez? Here. Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Vice Chair Knighton?
Here.
And Chair Holler?
Here. All right, can I call on someone in the audience, sir, to lead us in the flag salute? Would everyone please stand and face the flag? Place your hand over your heart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you. Okay, so there's no presentations this evening. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
We have none.
Thank you. Can I ask the Planning Commission for an all in favor to approve the agenda? Aye.
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 No opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Now we are going to, where's the minutes? Oh, there we are. So we'll move on to public comments and then do the minutes. That's how you'd like to proceed? Okay. So this is the portion of the agenda when we're able to take public comments for items that are not on tonight's agenda. The commission is limited in that we cannot respond to comments on items that are not on the agenda pursuant to the Ralph M. Brown Act, simply because they haven't been agendized or noticed. But if you would like to make a comment, I would ask that you fill out a speaker's slip, and when your name is called, when the clerk calls your name, if you would make your way to the podium and state your name, and then you have 3 minutes to make your comment. So, Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments tonight?
We do.
Okay.
Okay. Tony Reverdito, followed by Susan Shizeski.
All right, good evening, commissioners and everyone in attendance tonight. I'm Tony Reverdito, and I live along the Cherry Hills Golf Course in a 55-plus community. I'm here as a voice for thousands of residents whose expectations for this 60-year-old community deserve to be heard. We were told directly by the developer that a housing proposal will soon be submitted for this property. We're hearing numbers as high as 1,300 homes. At that scale, this is not a project. It's placing another city into the core of Sun City, creating immediate strain on the roads, emergency response, the electrical grid, sewer systems, infrastructure, and everything already limited by the county and state restrictions. It also raises safety concerns for the seniors there. We have reviewed Menifee's current housing data, and there are currently 9,217 units in various stages of development. That alone places Menifee on track to far exceed the housing requirement of approximately 6,600 for the 2021 through 2029 cycle. There is no justification for placing another 1,300 homes in the middle of a senior community on a land zone for recreation only. We did not purchase homes facing a golf course for our retirement to suddenly have houses, streets, traffic, and walkways placed in our backyards. That is a direct invasion of privacy and our sanctuary. I have provided photos from my west-facing view so you can see exactly what is at stake. We've heard the developer describe one-story homes with a loft. A one-story home with a loft is a two-story structure, okay? And it will block our open views and define our quality, and that define our quality of life. When asked if there was a Plan B, the developer stated the property would remain recreational if that plan is denied. That tells us the recreational use plan is already in place. They just want to make more money. This land was has supported cranes, egrets, and owls for decades and not watered for months. This plan to drive out wildlife should not be rewarded. As you know, this project will require a full environmental impact report and must reflect the true long-standing conditions of this land. Oh, what am I doing? 22 seconds, okay. Our CC&Rs require a 2/3 vote by homeowners for a zone change of this magnitude. Those protections run with the land for a reason and should be respected and not skipped over. This is a pivotal moment for this community, and all eyes are upon you to protect us. And would you want, last thing, would you want this level of chaotic intrusion for your parents or your grandparents during their
Mr.
golden
Ravitito,
years? Thank
your
you.
time's up.
Thank you.
Susan Chizewski, followed by Jeff Fauscher.
Good evening. I'm Susan Chizewski. I also live in Sun City, and that was really wonderful, all the things that the gentleman before me just said, so I just want to share a few more thoughts. There's this statistic being put out to us that 1/3 of the houses, the homes are rentals in Sun City, as if, you know, that makes any difference. And I just want to say that me and my husband bought our house looking forward to our retirement 6 years before we moved out here. So we were landlords and we did rent our house out for 6 years. And we cared very much about the community in those 6 years. So it's not that landlords don't care about the communities. That's my first point. My second point is that, as you all know, this community was designed by Del Webb back in the early 60s and was a new idea at the time. And I just think it should be preserved and appreciated. It's been very well maintained for these 3 generations now, with the open space in the middle of it, meandering through. It's accessible to like everybody, and you know, can't we just, I understand that a golf course costs millions of dollars to maintain, but can it just be open space or protected natural area like they have along the Salt Creek? That's my second point. And then my last point is that it is just like astonishing to me that anybody would even think of building, like that's a good idea to build 1,300 houses in the middle of something that's already a development. The roads, at least 1,300 more cars, more people. You know, it's very short-sighted. It'll profit some people, but I think that we have to think about like the next several generations. And thank you for letting me share my thoughts.
Thank you.
Jeff Fauscher.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Fauscher. I live in Heritage Lakes on the 4th District of this city, and I just wanted to bring to you guys' attention the need for a grocery store and a pharmacy in our 4th District. I was at the city council meeting before COVID when they planned the development for that McCall Center, we'll say. And it's built up, the storage facility is there, the gas station's there, there's other eateries there, but we in the 4th District have to drive the furthest in the city to get basic needs for our families. So I want you, please, to keep that in the forefront of your planning coming in the future, because it's a vital need for our district. And with all the houses, like you're seeing, all the houses going up in the 4th District and industrial going up right now, it doesn't seem like that's it's on the forefront. and I just want to bring that back to your attention. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more. Anne Downey.
Hi, my name's Ann Downing. I live in the Sun City area. I agree with what this gentleman said completely. I just can't. It's not our fault that the people who bought the golf course did not do their due diligence about the zoning for the house area. I'm completely against putting houses there. In my street alone, we've had at least 6 sewer areas that have failed over the last 2 years. Can you imagine the stress on the sewer system alone when you add that extra amount of houses? I think it's a terrible idea. Also, I have friends who live on the golf course. When they bought their house, they paid a $10,000 lot premium to get that house on the golf course, and they feel like they've been betrayed. So I just want to let you know, there's a lot of people who do not like this project at all. It's not our fault that people didn't look into the zoning when they bought the property. And there's so many people that just are against it, but don't want to get up here and talk about it. So I just wanted to be one of those people to represent everybody else who doesn't come to these meetings. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any other speakers?
No more speakers.
Okay, so there are no more speakers for this portion of the agenda that is items not on the agenda. So we're going to move on to the next portion of our agenda. If you all came for this portion, I appreciate you coming out and speaking to us. All right, we're going to move on to approval of the minutes. There is one set of minutes. Does the Planning Commission have any modifications to those minutes? Okay.
No.
Then could I ask my colleagues for an all in favor to approve the minutes for the March 25th, 2026 Commission meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That is approved. Okay. There are no consent items for this evening's meeting. So we're now going to move on to the public hearing items. Before we begin the public hearing, I'd just like to briefly explain the procedures. Following staff's presentation and any questions that the commission has directed to staff, the applicant will then be provided an opportunity to speak, followed by members of the audience who wish to address the commission. Each speaker will be given up to 3 minutes to provide their comments. And please note that, excuse me, the commission does not directly respond to comments or questions from members of the audience during that comment portion, but we may choose to raise those comments or questions with staff after we close the public comment portion of the meeting. This item is item 9.1. Mr. Director, could you introduce the item?
Absolutely. Good evening. The following item will be presented by Associate Planner Desiree McGriff.
Good evening, Chair, Commission. I'm Desiree McGriff, Associate Planner, presenting Menifee Boardwalk Plot Plan 24-0118, Conditional Use Permit, PLN 25-0112, and tentative map PLN 26003. The project site encompasses 6.02 acres of vacant land situated south of Newport Road, west of Menifee Road, north of Revere Road Drive, and east of Cali Pompey. The project is within the Menifee Village Specific Plan, Planning Area Number 11, with an underlying classification of scenic highway commercial as outlined in Ordinance 348.3990, Section 9.50 of the Riverside County Ordinance. In the staff report, there is a correction in wording. The staff report should have stated that the project is located within the general plan land use designation, Menifee Village specific plan, and the zoning is planning area number 11, scenic highway commercial. The developer proposes to develop the site as a cohesive commercial center. The development includes 5 buildings totaling approximately 38,560 square feet of building area. 2 quick-serve drive-through establishments are planned along the northern portion of the site, while providing 278 parking spaces, including ADA and EV spaces. Additionally, the project site proposes to commercially subdivide 6.02 acres into 5 commercial lots ranging in size from 0.49 acres to 1.57 acres. The project site has been designed to promote efficient vehicular and pedestrian circulation. There are 2 access points along Newport Road, optimizing traffic flow with additional access from Menifee Road, not pictured. Internal drive aisles provide connectivity between parcels and within existing adjacent commercial uses and parking areas to the east. Sidewalks and pedestrian pathways will link building entrances, outdoor seating, dining areas, and parking fields while enhancing walkability within the center. As previously stated, the project provides 278 parking stalls, including ADA EV parking, which is required by the city's parking standards. The project incorporates an on-site and perimeter landscape design to enhance aesthetics, provide shade, and create an attractive buffer between the commercial development and adjacent commercial and residential communities. Perimeter landscape will be installed along property boundaries with special attention to street-facing frontages along Newport Road to buffer the proposed drive-throughs and with garden walls and create an attractive streetscape comparable to what is already existing east of the site. The western and southern boundaries, which abut existing residential neighborhoods, will feature increased building setbacks and enhanced landscape buffers, which include dense planting and shrubs excuse me, I'm a little nervous. Planting and shrubs and shade trees to minimize visual impacts. The commercial center building features a modern architectural style characterized by clean lines, varied roof lines, and balanced combination of materials and textures to create visual interest, while maintaining architectural style components of the Menifee Village specific plan. Building facades incorporate a mix of stucco finishes and horizontal siding accents with natural tone appearances complemented by variation in roof heights and wall planes. The images depict the elevation style proposed for buildings 1 and 2. These images are depictions of buildings 3, which is a proposed drive-through coffee shop, and building 4, 4 more tenants. The project will implement the Menifee Boardwalk sign program designed to meet the intent of the Menifee Village specific plan. The program establishes comprehensive standards for property signage, ensuring consistent design, tenant identification, and effective wayfinding for both pedestrian and vehicle access to the development. The project proposes a property monument sign along Newport Road designed to accommodate 11 tenant identifications on each side. The monument sign will incorporate materials, colors, and design elements consistent with the architectural style of the proposed project, ensuring visual identity throughout the commercial center. The proposed daycare facility will operate from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. daily and is staffed by approximately 18 to 23 employees at any given time, with the above 30% of staff working part-time occasionally. Activities may take place during evening and weekends, such as open house and parties, but events are very infrequent. The site includes a 12,500 square foot fenced playground, which will include shaded playground equipment, a splash pad, and a playfield. The center has an overall enrollment of approximately 140 children, reflecting 80% occupancy, with a total building capacity ranging from 145 to 190 children. The parents utilize the on-site parking area to escort children into the facility, with pickup operations occurring in the same manner. The average drop-off and pickup is approximately 5 to 8 minutes per vehicle. Peak operation periods include morning drop-off between 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. and afternoon pickup between 4 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. The property will be secured with perimeter fencing and gated access equipped with alarm systems to enhance overall safety. Entry to the facility will be controlled through secured access points with restricted entry, ensuring that only authorized individuals are permitted within the building. Additionally, security cameras will be installed throughout the facility to maintain a safe environment and allow the monitoring of by both administration and parents. No PA or intercom systems are proposed to be installed. And this is an image of the proposed daycare, which would be building number 5, the exterior elevation. An initial study, mitigation negative declaration, was prepared for the project and determined that the project will not have a significant effect on the environment with mitigation incorporated. The 20-day public notice period was from March 11th to March 30th. The city received 2 comment letters from Foothill Arch LLC on March 27th, 2026 and April 3rd, 2026. The city responded to both comment letters. The first letter in response was added to the staff report package and provided to the commissioners. The second letter in response was provided to the commissioners' blue folders, and copies are available on the table in the council chambers today. In conclusion, staff recommends to the Planning Commission to conduct a public hearing and adopt resolution adopting an initial study and mitigated negative declaration based on the findings incorporated in the initial study, and the conclusion that the following project will not have a significant effect on the environment, and adopt Planning Commission resolution and approve the plot plan, conditional use permit, and tentative map subject to the attached conditions, and approved upon the findings and conclusions incorporated in the staff report and the resolution. And this concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Griff. Good presentation. Do my colleagues have any questions for staff?
I want to make a comment that we received a letter questioning certain items from Foothill Ranch on April 3rd. And the city, it's kind of nice when you read a letter that has questions, and right after it, we get the comments that answered these questions from staff on April 7th. So we did take attention to those comments, is all I wanted to make a point.
Thank you. Actually, I'll have a follow-up, but I'll wait for my colleagues if they have any other questions
Well, questions right now? Okay.
of staff, yes.
Just to verify, there is a U-turn at Newport and Menifee and at Menifee and Rockport?
Yes,
And there'll be a deceleration lane into the center along Newport?
yes,
But not at the Archibalds and the existing Rite Aid facility?
yes. The
Whatever that's gonna
deceleration
be.
is on the first driveway, coming to access the first driveway.
And Newport Road, the developer's going to pay for a second left turn lane and widen the road right there, along with center median improvements?
As part of the traffic study, they're gonna do some modification on the front, right by the median, where it's gonna be two left turns.
Two left turns.
To that.
Okay, thank you.
If I could, I'd like to follow up with the letter that we saw today the response dated April 7th. Director Hernandez, as I read through the letter, the subject of the letter was a portion of parking that there was an assertion was double counted. The letter referenced Urban Land Institute methodology for parking. Could you just briefly describe the letter and how staff has determined that the letter is responsive to the letter from the next door business? That was just awfully inarticulate, but you know what I'm looking for. So.
No, that perfectly clear, Chair. As you know, adjacent to the proposed project, there's an existing development that includes two different buildings. One of them is a fast food restaurant and what used to be Rite Aid. When that project developed, it included some additional parking that actually is within the project boundary of the site. At that time, there were, as part of the parcel map that approved those projects, there were easements that allow that development to include and take advantage of those parking spaces. So when we reviewed this project, we made sure that we didn't double counted those parking spaces. So we did two things. One is we verified all the parking standards and including the employees for the proposed project one. And just to be on the safe side, we did ask our traffic engineer to do what's called a parking demand analysis to reaffirm and confirm that, in fact, we're not going to have a parking issue. And the report essentially says that there's no time during the day that we have deficiency in parking. In fact, the highest peak, which I think occurs at 1 p.m., we still have like in excess of 45 spaces, which will be the lowest.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Okay, if there's no further questions for staff at this point in time, we are going to open the public hearing at 6:28. Madam Clerk, can you confirm the item was legally noticed and if any correspondence that we've just been talking about has been received?
It was legally noticed and correspondence is in your blue folders.
Thank you. All right, I would like to invite the applicant to the podium to speak. And I'll start with a question to you. Do you agree to the conditions of approval as described in the agenda item?
Yes, my name's James Bickle from Bickle Group Architects. We're the project architect for the overall project. And yes, the design team and the developer have read through the conditions. We've been working with staff, and Desiree's been fantastic in working with this, and Orlando as well. We were on the phone with him earlier today and worked out a few minor little nuances, but yes, at this point, we are prepared and happy to accept all the conditions.
Okay, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with the commission at this point in time?
Other than we're very excited to get this project going. It's been a long time in the works. Our firm has redesigned the site a couple of times in response to city demands, market demands. It's been a long time coming. We think it's going to be a great project, of course. And we're here. We've got a team. Our civil engineer is here. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. But I want to raise questions if there aren't any.
Okay, thank you. At this time, so I'd ask you just to hang on for 1 second. Do my colleagues have any questions for the applicant? Tim?
Hi, thank you for being here. I have a question with regard to the childcare portion of the development. And there's going to be a block wall along the boundary of the playground and the school boundary. But along the sides, that's going to be fencing, is that correct?
There's going to be, and some of that was one of those nuances. It was just worked out this afternoon, so correct me if I say something wrong here. I was driving as we were on a Zoom call. The west side will also have a block wall, correct? So, yeah, so adjacent to the residential development, we'll also have the block wall, and then adjacent to the school, we'll have a block wall. On the east side, adjacent to some future development, not necessarily have a block wall there.
Okay, because that was one of my concerns, if it was going to be fencing or not, because I want to ensure that the students at the childcare have proper privacy. You said the east side, will that have a privacy screening for the students?
Yes, there's another fence as part of TLE's development to sort of corral the children and provide security and privacy. Their requirement is a minimum 6-foot-high fence. We're working through with staff to determine whether there should be 2 fences or maybe we can just get away with 1, but there will be at least 1, potentially 2 fences there.
Okay, I just want to ensure that there's screening, like
Yeah,
privacy screening.
They're opaque, yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Just to follow up for clarification, I had the same concerns on the south side of the fence of the daycare center. Is there going to be a gap between your fence and Callie Kirkpatrick's fence?
I'm not sure who that is, but.
Callie Kirkpatrick's the elementary school.
Okay.
They have a 6-foot chain link fence right now.
The intent is they will essentially be adjacent to each other, touching each other.
They will be touching each other. Okay, so people can't get back in there.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. As long as I got you. Let me see here. No, that was my main thing right there. I do appreciate the extra queuing for the Mexican restaurant and the coffee shop. Those, looks like you can get almost 18 cars in there. So I appreciate that length. So thank you.
Sure.
Kind of a question that doesn't pertain. Do you have any other projects in Menifee in the future that you're working on?
We have a number of projects in Menifee in the future. I'm not at liberty to disclose exactly where and what they would be at this. Well, it's different developers we're working for, and we're in the very early stages of some feasibility planning. But yes, we have
So
2
just
fairly major projects, yes.
Okay, thank you. Just out of curiosity, as a reference, at what point demographically were you able to bring this project here?
At what point?
Like population or infrastructure
That's a very complicated question that quite honestly goes way beyond the architect and even to a certain degree beyond the developer into the broker community, especially on a commercial project. A lot of that is driven by the market demand of the retailers. The retailers and the restaurants are actually the ones that do the homework on rooftop count and traffic counts, and they will typically then go to the brokerage community and say, hey, we're looking for a site. We realize that this area in Menifee needs our services.
Thank you.
I have one question. On the Can you put the graphic that's on our screens here up on the big screen for a minute? The plantings along the westerly property line and the I'll say the westerly half of the southerly property line that are adjacent to the existing homes.
Mm-hmm.
What are those shrubs or trees, and is there a CMU or other solid wall along there as well?
Those are trees.
Okay.
With additional planting at a lower level. And there is a concrete block wall, I believe it's already existing across,
Okay.
behind all those.
And what, I know you said you're the architect, not the landscape architect. Do you know what kind of trees those are? I'm not able to read them off of the site plan that I've received, so.
I do not remember off the top of my head. Seth, do you remember? Right,
Commission, we're looking, this is Ryan Fowler, Planning Manager. We're looking at the plans right now. They appear to be London plane trees.
Okay. So I do have a concern with the London plane only because those are a deciduous tree. So if they were intended for any screening, that won't happen when they lose their leaves. So at some point, I think it might be more appropriate to consider a change to an evergreen tree of the same size. So I just want to let you know that I do have that concern.
And we can certainly work with staff to pick out an appropriate tree. I mean, part of the trees is you want general ambience as well as just pure screening. But we're happy to work with staff and pick out a tree that everybody's happy with.
Thank you. The rest of the plan, I thought looked very good, but just those in those areas, I did have that one concern. So thank you for that.
Sure.
I have one question. So that kind of brings up a question in my mind. On the southern boundary that backs up to the houses, you got the wall. That wall, I believe, is 6 or 7 feet right now?
6 feet, I believe.
6 feet. Just remind me, I think the elevation of this property, is it the same as the houses or is it lower or higher?
It's roughly the same.
Roughly the same. So on those, right here, is this like an alleyway that people walk? Will it have doors out the back and they bring supplies in, or is this completely no doors?
There are doors there, but we have actually taken fairly extensive mitigation measures back there. As you can see, there's a pretty wide swath of landscaping. We've got the 6-foot-high wall. We actually worked with staff. We did sightline studies, and all portions of the building that could be seen from a backyard above that wall, extra architectural articulation has been added, extra color, breakup of the color, to try to give it a little more of a village feel than just a big box behind their house. There are doors there, but that's a site like the 6'8" or 7-foot door. You're really not even going to see the doors.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
Yes, we do.
Okay, go ahead with that.
Okay. Ron Sullivan, followed by Joseph Cardella.
Yes, Commission, Ron Sullivan, live here in Menifee, and I represent Diamond Brothers 5 Partnership, who owned this land prior to the time we sold it to Matthew and Brian. And we were the ones also at the time when Archibald's and Rite Aid was being developed by Foothill Arch, that they did have adequate parking. Their easement that they see on part of the parcel map was to allow them to put the trash cans, trash pickup facilities on our land, give them an easement, and an easement for a trash truck to come in and pick it up. In addition, later on, he asked if he could do some overflow parking should he have some special events. And we said, sure, don't mind that, but you can't do that on the dirt just because of oil and everything else that gets into the property, that he would have to pave it. And so that's what he did. And so the land still belongs to Matthew and Brian and their organization does not belong to Foothill Arch. They had an okay from us, not written, simply verbal, that they could use it for some overflow parking if they had special events. And I guess they have on occasion, but I've never seen it. So I will speak in favor of this project. I think it's terrific that Menifee has the opportunity to have a child care center, which is desperately needed around here. And I like the restaurants and the retail that comes in here. And I think it's an attribute to this 6 acres. This site has always been commercial with commercial uses. And so as long as the traffic is the same and the covenant for Matthew and Brian to improve the intersection of Menifee and Newport to make two left-hand turns and to widen it a little bit to make sure it works, I think that's to the city's benefit and to Brian's. I thank you.
Joseph Cardella.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to talk. My name is Joseph Cardella. I represent Foothill Arch LLC. As Ron mentioned, the owner of the property just north and east. And my client would love to see this project go forward. We've submitted 2 letters, however, for one raising an issue of parking, the other one of traffic, because the question always becomes at what cost do you want to see this go in. The letter set out our position on both traffic. We've got a response from the city. I've seen that. Same with parking. We wrote a letter. We have not seen that response, so I'll do my best not to be duplicative. But let me start with parking. It's pretty straightforward. There is an easement to park those spaces. There's 32 spaces. It was attached as an exhibit to the letter, the entire document, and it shows that there's 32 spaces to be parked there. And there was mention that there was a double count analysis done, not part of the original package, so I can't comment on that. All I can say is that it wasn't indicated that it was correctly analyzed from the onset. A couple of other items, there's patios throughout. There's no analysis of the patios as mentioned in the letter. There needs to be an analysis of any patio over 200 square feet. The project was analyzed in the aggregate, so any analysis of the patios should be in the aggregate. It's not a phased project, so there should be quite a number of parking spaces there that we don't see anywhere in the analysis. Turning to traffic, it seems like the city's response to our original traffic concerns were not adequately or quantitatively analyzed, and without this kind of analysis, it's unclear how the city reached its conclusions. With just a minute left, I apologize, but I'm going to have to read through my notes. The city had responses. They had bullet point responses with regard to items 3 and 4. The city's response relies on alternative trip generation table, concludes higher traffic volumes would not change the results. However, that alternative analysis actually shows a noticeable increase in traffic, the order of over 122 additional trips in the AM peak hour alone. That level of increase is meaningful and should be quantitatively evaluated, not dismissed without further analysis, which was done in the response. Secondly, even the alternative trip generation appears to still understate the traffic. The majority of the commercial space is treated as standard retail, when in reality a significant portion of is expected to operate as a restaurant uses, which generate substantially higher traffic volumes. I would just lastly reiterate, there's plenty of information and documentation in this project to have a signal warrant analysis. It would greatly improve
Mr.
the area,
Cardella, your time is up.
which is already at an F, as you already all know. I'll take any questions.
Since this is comment period, can I ask him a question after comment period?
You can give him more time if he'd like to make comments.
Can I directly address it to him now?
Are you trying to ask questions of him?
Question of him, yes.
Uh,
Representative of the project next door.
That should be okay. It's a public hearing.
So my question is, beyond the additional studies, you're asking for these additional studies. Let's boil it down to what really matters. What improvements are you requesting or changes? Beyond the studies, what are you trying to accomplish with those?
I would think first and foremost is a signalization study. I mean, the first reaction is going to be, well, it's too close, right? But look at the Stater Brothers signal. That's not within the measurable distance. So there's no reason why we can't do this. We all know that it's a disaster out there. It's an F. It's rated an F at certain times of the day. And the response is basically, well, this is a private area. Other people suffer. It's not uncommon for backup into the parking lot. It was I'm paraphrasing what the thing said. But so it's failing somewhere else, so it should fail here? No, if there's a traffic analysis, a signal warrant analysis should be done.
So if you did the signal warrant analysis, what are you hoping to accomplish? What changes are you hoping to accomplish?
If a signal is warranted, a signal is put in there, and it will greatly improve traffic flow.
What, 100, 200 feet prior to this, or where are you wanting the signal?
The signal would be at the entrance.
Of their entrance, not yours, but of their entrance.
Correct. Yeah, ours is much too close to the signal. So I think that would be an excellent starting place, and I'm the attorney, but I'm relying on the expert, and they're convinced that the traffic was not adequately analyzed, and there's going to be issues there, and we don't disagree based on the uses that are there. So, that's a really good starting place, and there's no question, the response downplayed it, but there's no question that what's going to happen is there's going to be backup in this project, which I hope does really well, because that'll be more patrons for my client, but they're going to be coming then through our project as well, which the response downplayed and said, that's just not going to happen. Well, there was no analysis. You can't say that. They've conceded several points in the response and just, said, well, but we're not going to change our analysis.
So beyond the additional signal you're requesting at the entrance of this new project, as far as going back to the parking, what do you want to accomplish with that?
I would need to look at the analysis. If they've truly done an analysis of whether or not it was properly parked, that would be good, but I don't know how they could have done that. It wasn't in the initial package.
So beyond the studies, say you could wave a wand and you got your result in the studies, what are you asking for this project to do in relation to the parking?
To make sure if there's additional parking spaces, to see where you can pull those parking spaces, if additional parking spaces are warranted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good
Thank
questions.
you. Madam Clerk, do we have any other speakers?
No more speakers.
Okay, seeing no more speakers, I am going to close the public hearing at 6:48. Does the Planning Commission have other comments, questions, or discussion? And I think that we may. Who would like to start?
This happens all the time. One traffic engineer does his analysis, and another one does. Our traffic engineer is also an engineer, and they didn't think a traffic signal was warranted where they're asking, and the parking's been analyzed, so do we need staff to respond to this, or?
Could I help maybe frame that? So I think we've heard the comments from the speaker, and the question, obviously, we're not technical experts, but we would like to ask staff and Madam City Attorney, you, about the response to comments and the MND, and has everything been adequately addressed to staff's and your satisfaction in the environmental document.
The responses that we provided have been vetted not only by our environmental consultant, also by our traffic team, and also our legal counsel. So we're comfortable that the document that we have before you, it's adequate to respond, and also that the CEQA document has been done in conformance with the regulations.
And as a reminder, LOS, or level of service, is not a component of CEQA analysis. As such, we understand that there may be concerns regarding a signal or traffic delays and whatnot, but that is not a part of the review that is before you relating to CEQA itself.
Can I ask an overarching question related to this? I'm not saying it should be done, but he's claiming there was no traffic study done relating to this. Why wasn't there a traffic study? Was it already encompassed in the environmental packet, or what?
No, there was a traffic study done and vetted through engineering. There was a scoping agreement that engineering requested certain things to be analyzed a certain way, and it was vetted through our engineering department as well. We do have our traffic consultant here. If we can maybe ask him just to give a little bit of an explanation in regards to some of the concerns that were raised.
Good evening, Kyle Mayberry, principal with Linscott Law and Greenspan Engineers, Irvine. There's a lot of things to reply to. As it relates to the revised or the alternate trip generation, when we first started the scoping process, at least in our understanding, the fast food, which is trying to be a coffee shop, was not clear to us. We used the shopping center rate, which includes all those uses, and in consulting with staff, they felt that we should probably look at what the trip generation would be if we separated out the coffee shop as a drive-through, which we did. And we did an alternative trip generation. And what turned out to be is that the trips were slightly greater. But at the end of the day, as you know, more than anybody, there's so many cumulative projects in the city that the level of service, the cumulative level of service without the project was so great that even adding, it was like 44 a.m. trips and 16 p.m. trips, would not have changed the results. The project had 4 adverse locations. It wasn't like there were no poor locations that needed to be mitigated. So we looked at the level of service at the other locations that might have been changed, and none of them were very close to being impacted. So it was our expert kind of finding that it wouldn't have changed the results even if we had rerun the analysis with that slightly greater trip generation. And I'd like to comment on, there's a lot of things that could comment on, but relative to the signal warrant at the right, it's a right turn in, right out driveway. You would never signalize that operation. And I would argue that almost all the driveways along Newport, the right in, right out driveways operate poorly based on the way the calculation is set up. It doesn't take into account gaps from signal, red lights upstream, little things like that. And then the queue at times will be on site, but that doesn't affect congestion. That's just an internal issue. So that the signal warrant you would never do a signal warrant for a right in, right out driveway.
So let me ask you a question on this. So that's you're talking about the basically flow of traffic and the A to F flow, all that.
Correct.
Beyond that, do you see any safety issues with the design of the right in, right out there?
No, the only issue relative to right in, right out is sight distance, and there's adequate sight distance. And then relative to the parking, just to kind of a little clarity on ULI, Urban Land Institute generated a manual methodology called shared parking, and it looks at demand at certain times of the day. So what our study did was, because of the uses in this, daycare, medical office, food, retail, they don't all peak at the same time. For instance, on the weekend, when the restaurants may be busy at lunchtime, the daycare is not even open, so there's zero demand. So the code just piles on all of the parking on a peak condition on top of each other, when in reality, shared parking would say middle of the day, the daycare does no activity in the middle of the day for the most part. You drop them in the morning. So there's no parking demand for the daycare. The the medical is generally closed on Saturdays. So you have a change in profile during the day. It's kind of like an office and a movie theater could share the same parking, right? It's the same concept. So when we applied shared parking, the demand came down below what this needs, minus the 32 spaces in the easement. And that was the kind of the key finding, was that their argument that those 32 spaces aren't available. They don't even need those 32 spaces at any of the peak time. And then there's many times in a day when the demand is much lower.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
No other questions?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, no question.
All right, we have two resolutions for our consideration. Can I get a motion? And a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. That motion passes. Thank you all. Okay, we'll now move on to item number 9.2, a general plan amendment for the open space and conservation element. Mr. Director, would you introduce that item?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. If we can maybe give people an opportunity to walk out, and the item will be presented by Senior Planner Fernando Herrera. And it's his presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. So the item before us is for an update to the open space element of the general plan. So it's LR 25-0148. It is a proposed update to the city's open space and conservation element, which will add additional and clarifying language to be in compliance with Senate Bill 1425. So what is the open space element? So the open space element is a mandatory component of the general plan that identifies maps and preserves land for natural resources, agriculture, outdoor recreation, public health, safety, floodplains, hazard areas. It directs long-term planning for undeveloped or lightly developed and land to ensure environmental protection, biodiversity, and community aesthetics. On September 30th of 2022, SB 14 required cities and counties to review and update the open space element of their general plans to ensure that there's equitable access to open space, climate resilience, and other co-benefits of open space and rewilding opportunities. The update must include plans and action programs that address access to open space for all residents in a manner that considers social, economic, and racial equality, correlated with the environmental justice element or environmental justice policies in the general plan as applicable, climate resilience and other co-benefits of open space correlated with the safety element, and rewilding opportunities correlated with land use element. Rewilding opportunities in this case refers to opportunities to preserve, enhance, and expand an integrated network of open space to support beneficial uses such as habitat, recreational, natural resources, historic and tribal resources, water management, and aesthetics. Rewilding can also be accomplished by establishing a natural communities preservation plan to provide for coordinated mitigation and the impacts of new development. The city has updated the open space conservation element of the general plan to incorporate additional goals and policies that strengthen climate resilience, environmental equity, and long-term ecological health. As well as additional changes, a new climate resiliency section was added to the open space and conservation element to address climate adaptation and mitigation through the use of open space and green infrastructure. Additionally, minor text changes were made to clarify the element. The relationship to the existing and future plans is that the proposed changes will set the guidelines and framework for future development to incorporate these concepts into their design. Just to emphasize, this is something that the city has already been doing. It just gives the city additional policies and goals to support what we have already been doing. As the general plan is the blueprint of the city, all plans and development must be consistent with the general plan. The next steps in the process is after your recommendation, it will go to City Council for final action. Staff has reviewed the proposed general plan amendment in accordance with the CEQA guidelines and has determined that it is exempt pursuant to section guidelines 15060, section C2, under the common sense exception, and CEQA section 15601B3, as it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the proposed general plan will have a significant impact on the environment. It is staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution recommending to the City Council to approve General Plan Amendment GPA LR 25-0148, amending the open space and conservation element of the City of Menifee General Plan to ensure compliance with the Senate Bill 1425 and exempt further review from environmental law, and determine that the exemption is pursuant to section 15060 C2 under the common sense exception and section 15601B3. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Does the commission have any questions for staff?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Good job, Fernando. How are you going to integrate this into our development process? Where's it going to apply? You know, what's the...
Yeah, so when projects come forth for review and approval, everything has to be consistent with the general plan because the general plan forms the constitution of development in the city. So by incorporating these goals and policies, it gives the city additional policies and goals to further support the findings, which are in the resolutions that you review, that give basically the city more teeth to ensure compliance with this. With the Senate Bill 1425.
But you're already doing that anyway, right?
Right, yeah, so this is to add the clarifying language to it, because right now we don't have that language.
Right.
But it's already a policy that the city is unofficially doing. So with this, we are now in compliance and we have additional text and language to support what we're doing.
So this is a positive thing?
Yes.
For the city. Okay, thank you.
I have a question or comment, question. This might be for the city attorney. As far as the rewilding part of it, I have a concern that I don't think I would have to read it more fully, but there are jurisdictions that have denied development because of local jurisdiction desire to rewild certain areas across the United States, and thus they've been denied development. What is, in your opinion, what's the wording in this change to the city's goals and policies that would affect future developments? Say the city goes, well, we want this open space to be rewild, so you can't develop it. What, do you see any of that possibility in this?
I guess I can't say that anything is possible. Whether it will fly under the plethora of housing laws that are being mandated by the state is going to be another issue. We've seen other jurisdictions here in the state of California looking to use a variety of laws relating to nature, animal conservation and whatnot in an effort to prevent or stop development, and they were not successful. And so, you know, I guess it would be to be determined as to how these laws will have interplay with each other as they move forward. However, it does seem like the state mandated housing laws are still going strong.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from my colleagues? Okay.
I got one more question. So is there any kind of economic impact on development through this rewilding? Like, would there be additional fee to a builder, or is this another line item they have to?
No.
All right, thank you. Okay, I will open the public hearing at this time, which is 7:04. Madam Clerk, can you confirm that this item was legally noticed?
Yes, it was, and no correspondence was
correspondence.
received.
Thank you. Are there any requests to speak on this item?
Not today.
Okay, and no one in the audience would care to speak on this? Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing, also at 7:04. Planning Commission have any other comments?
I have a historical context for this. So this same parcel, in saying this, I just want to say the Planning Commission is doing its job. This same parcel had a proposed apartment, I think it was a senior apartment, but it might have been just apartments proposed onto this. And they wanted to change the land use to that. I'm glad we didn't, because this is what this property was designed to be. It's zoned, its land use was commercial retail, and that's what the city needs. It needs the additional services that are to be offered there, the tax revenue. So I was just glad that the commission at the time held its line and said, no, we're not converting commercial retail to housing. We're going to hold the line and let it develop the way the plan is. So that's the purpose of our commission here, and I just hope we can do this, hold the line on in the future on these similar type of projects, because this is what ultimately should be in this area, in my opinion.
Anyone else? Okay. There's one resolution for the commission's consideration. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt the resolution as recommended by staff?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes.
I guess I should clarify, I was talking about the commercial part, not the change in the goals and policies.
Okay, so there are no discussion items. Mr. Director, do you have any updates or comments for us this evening?
None for you guys today.
God bless you. Does the Planning Commission, Michael, have anything to report on committee activities?
I need to get bigger type. It's getting harder to read. Last month on the 26th, I attended the Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Ceremony. That is always a great event over there at Paloma. Yesterday, I attended the Interfaith Community Meeting and followed that up with the Commercial Broker Luncheon. And that's it.
Thank you. All right. Would my colleagues like to request any future agenda items? Hearing none, then I adjourn this meeting at 7:07. Thank you for all of your comments.